What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we are going to be showcasing how to beat the Warden of Nothing Grandmaster Nightfall during Episode 1 Echoes of Destiny 2 as fast and easily as possible, showcasing an incredible build for each different class, as well as a bunch of tips and tricks for the strike itself to help you breeze through this Grandmaster and get those juicy rewards. And so, let's get started. Now, first off, let's talk about the builds, and to know what builds to make, we need to go over the important modifiers. So, for the champions, we are going to be facing all three different types of champions, then we do have a solar threat, and then after that, importantly, we have Arc Surge and Void Surge being active, and then lastly, we have overcharged rocket launchers. Now, as for the builds themselves, first of all, I was playing a Titan, and I'm using the Prismatic ability spam build I made a video on. If you want more detail on this build, definitely check out the video, but I just think this is the best overall Titan build for high-level content. However, because I'm actually using arc weapons instead of void weapons, I did swap out one of the facets, Facet of Bravery for Facet of Hope, so just keep that in mind. After that, you can see all of the different armor perks on as well, obviously changing some stuff because I am using those arc weapons, like I have an arc scavenger and arc surge. Now, as for the weapons themselves, first of all, I am going to be using the Outbreak Perfected. This thing's darn fantastic. Like, you got to craft it last season, and for a pulse rifle, which is going to deal with those barrier champions, it shreds. After that, I am using the Indebted Kindness. Rocket sidearms can stun unstopped champions, not to mention Volt Shot can potentially deal with the overloads as well. And then lastly, I am going to be using the Crux Termination. Honestly, I'm using arc weapons, so I had an excuse to use this Crux Termination because I finally got the COD roll. And then if I'm using an arc heavy, might as well use an arc special in the Indebted Kindness so I can use those arc armor perks. Now, moving on to the Warlock, we are going to be using the incredible Solar Healing Warlock build based around the Speaker Sight exotic helmet. I did do a video on this as well. It's linked right up above if you want more detail, but in this video, we're just going to be quickly going over the fragments as well as the different armor mods. You can obviously pause if you want to copy them directly or change them around depending on your specific loadout. Now, speaking of specific loadouts, let's talk about the weaponry. Now, importantly, we are using a Lingering Dread. This is fantastic because it's going to give us access to a blinding grenade launcher, but also it has Chill Clip, and if you slow an overload champion, it will stun them. Now, after that, we do have the incredible No Hesitation, which is simply phenomenal with this healing build. Like with the physics perk, you can basically become unkillable while you make a teammate unkillable as well. And then after that, we have the Galahorn to massively boost the power of myself and my other teammates' legendary rocket launchers. And then last but certainly not least, we have the Hunter build. Now, this is going to be the prismatic kind of arc tank build based around the Gifted Conviction exotic chest piece. Again, did a video on that. It's linked right up above if you want more detail. And also, we are going to be going over the different abilities, the different fragments, as well as the different armor mods in quick succession. Again, you can obviously slow it down or pause it if you want to copy. But this is a fantastic build, and you'll actually notice when we eventually go over the weapons, we don't have a dedicated overload stunning weapon. You could incorporate a hand cannon if you want more consistency, but since I jolt with my grenades and this class jolts so much with its build, like you just have the natural elemental debuff methods of stunning overloads that we didn't really have to worry about having to run an overload weapon. Again, speaking of those weapons, we do have a Call sidearm, unbelievable weapon, the most popular weapon in the game right now for PvE, and it's craftable. It's going to stun those unstopped champions. After that, Graviton Lance. This is another phenomenal one. Obviously, pulse rifles stunning barrier champions, Graviton being not only incredible at dealing with those champions because it actually has Vorpal weapon for its catalyst, but it also causes enemies to explode, so it's incredible for ad clearing as well. And then lastly, we have yet another God Roll Crux Termination for that rocket launcher bake. But moving on from there, let's get to the tips for the strike itself. So you're going to start out playing pretty normally until you get to this section here. And my tip is do not try to sparrow dodge the trains on the left or the right. Instead, hop up here on the top of kind of the monorail train tracks, and you can run along here completely avoiding those trains. Yes, it's going to take a little bit longer, but your whole team can be sent to orbit if one guy dies from the train and the other two people try to revive him. I've seen it before, and it's just not worth the risk. Moving on from there, when you get to this section here, I would highly advise that you stay behind this piece of cover. You can see me using my super from right around here to deal with the first few champions. There's 2 barrier champions, and if they both shoot you at the same time, you're done for. Like, you are just melted, especially with solar threat. So deal with those guys first before you move up to the middle section here where most people hold out in the normal strike. Now, after that, guys, you're going to have that boss, a quick bake. However, don't go overboard. Like, this guy actually does not have a lot of health. You know, 1 or 2 shots from everyone's rocket launcher should be more than good enough to take this guy down. And then he's going to teleport kind of further away from you, and then you can finish him off with whatever. Now, moving on from there, you're going to be thrust up into this new arena where you're going to have to do quite a lot of different objectives. There is a ton of champions spawning in this first area, so area of effect things, and you can see me actually activate my Transcendence so I can throw those suspending, jolting grenades. Like, that's going to be fantastic. A great opportunity to, again, you know, go Transcendent, throw your grenades, use your rocket launchers, stuff that's going to, you know, suspend more than one champion at once. Like you can see here, it just really helps you deal with, you know, those certain champions. Like, you can focus one champion while the other champions are not shooting at you. They're suspended, they're frozen, they're whatever, they're stunned, and so that is really, really going to help in this, you know, first section. I would recommend going around to that left kind of corner as you can see me go, work your way into the middle of the arena as you're killing like one champion to the next, to the next, to the next. And I would prioritize the unstops and the overloads first if you can, because those are the ones that charge you. You don't want to be shooting a barrier and then suddenly there's an unstop, you know, right behind you. You know what I mean? Now, after that, you do have the diffusing mines segment, and this has some very interesting quirks. So, the very first mine you defuse in the center is actually going to spawn the other 2 mines. So what you can do is simply not capture point A, go and kill the unstopped champions that have just spawned, you know, go get ammo, whatever, and then come back and capture it when your team is good and ready. In the background gameplay, my teammate just captured it right away because we've done this Grandmaster a bajillion times. But again, if you are having some trouble, just deal with the enemies first before you hop on A. Just make sure to hop on before the timer runs out. Then B and C, as points are going to spawn, I would recommend going to 1 as a full team of 3. You can easily capture, you know, let's say point B, and then migrate over as a team to point C. Now, as you're doing that, something you may notice in the background gameplay, there's an overload champion that we basically just ignore, and that's because you can ignore this guy. You are going to get a platinum rating even if you do not kill this overload champion, right? Because just the way this mine encounter works. So again, yeah, you can just completely leave that guy. It's actually going to be fighting with the other enemies, and then just go and capture C without having to deal with that champion. And again, you will still get a platinum rating. I always deal damage to it just to be safe, but I don't think you need to. Moving on from there, once you've captured all of the mines, you have another boss spawn, and again, like, this is not that difficult of a boss. Just make sure to not use all of your heavy ammo. You're going to need your heavy ammo for the final boss because we are going for a bake. So, you know, if you have to special this guy down, it's going to be well worth it. Make sure you're going into that boss fight with some rocket launcher ammo. Now, moving on from there, you're going to interact with this object, be sent down this giant hole. There was a glitch for years, I'm not sure if Bungie fixed it, where you would just randomly die going down here. So it's kind of a good idea to maybe have one person wait outside the trap just in case something goes wrong. Anyways, guys, once you eventually get down here, up on this platform, you can actually deal with the champions from up here without having to jump down. Now, again, my team has done this a million times, so we jump down, no problem, but it may be a strategy you want to employ. Now, from here, you're going to have to deal with all these different champions. Again, deal with the unstop or the overload first because they're going to charge you, and once all the champions are dealt with, we have the boss spawn. Again, this is where you want to activate Radiant, activate a weaken effect if you have it, pop your Gjallarhorn, and then absolutely bake. You can see us just throw in as many rockets as we can against this guy, and it goes down pretty darn fast. Like, with overload rocket launchers being present in this Grandmaster, and how many good rocket launchers there are, combined with one person using a Gjallarhorn, you can easily get the one phase kill on this boss. And you really want to do that because you can actually see, like, one of the mini bosses, the alternative bosses, has spawned. Thankfully, he despawns pretty soon, but that's what you're going to have to deal with if you don't kill this boss soon enough. You'll have a bunch more enemies spawn, so it is way easier if you can commit to the bake and just kill this guy before you have to deal with all those other enemies that spawn. And so guys, that's going to be it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus, that is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.